is David Miller, your Arts Ambassador, here with my boy.
You already know it's your boy, Brother Royce. One time for your mind.
So, we talking to somebody that has actually been to Africa. What did you see though? What made you kind of shook up?
They have the shackles there, they have the bars there, but they have the tour guide that is explaining what was happening there.
And give us the time that those dungeons was used. It wasn't 1500s.
These were the actual slave dungeons where we were brought out of Africa. Africans was taken from Sierra Leone. They was taken from all over the West Coast, Nigeria, all over the West Coast, but they was all brought into these two slave dungeons. So there is a lot of history and there is a lot of ancestral energy there.
I can feel our ancestors much stronger here. Their energy is really, really, really strong.
This is the Cape Coast Castle in Ghana, West Africa, where enslaved Africans were shipped to the Caribbean, to North America, and other places in the world. From this castle, on the average, 10,000 enslaved Africans were shipped year by year. Altogether, about 60 million Africans were enslaved. Whoever went through this door had no chance of coming back. That is why this door got the name, the Door of No Return.
This a very emotional aspect, and I'm glad I came here. You don't witness a real dungeon, unlike elsewhere where storerooms were turned into dungeons. And this was the third and the last castle. Third and last. Beside the three castles were many forts. James Fordosha Fort in Accra, Antonio Apollonio Sebastian in Western region. And this is the Cape Coast Castle, English 1664, labor for the construction 1664. Of our own ancestors.
Cape Coast Castle.
Yeah, our own ancestors. This piece of land some time ago was known as Cabo Corso, according to Portuguese. When they were in Elimina, a section of them settled here and named the area Cabo Corso to mean Short Cape. It was therefore the English who changed Cabo Corso to mean Cape Coast. Other school of thought say because of the pronunciation right, Cabo they say Cape, Coast became coast. So if the English didn't corrupted it to mean Cape Coast, it was those who could not pronounce Cabo Coast the way it should be and pronounce it Cape Coast. Whatever it is, they are all 9-letter words.
Yes.
No hyphen anywhere. Wherever you saw Cape Coast written with hyphen or dash, it's incorrect.
Okay.
Later, Portuguese abandoned the area because they lost the Dutch. They lost the Elmina Castle to the Dutch around 1637. If a whole castle they lost it, what was the use of wooden structure here? So therefore, they abandoned the area and left for Angola, Mozambique, Equatorial Guinea, Kenya, where they built a whole slave dungeon named after Jesus Christ.
Oh.
So if you want to see Fort Jesus, you go to Mombasa in Kenya.
Fort Jesus?
For Jesus.
Fort
I tell you.
Which Jesus? Because it ain't the one I know.
Which one do you know?
The one who's love,
Who's love?
not slave.
Yeah, that's Antichrist.
But
right
the
there.
same people gave us
The one
the
that lives in
Jesus
us.
and had a Jesus temple above a dungeon.
Wicked.
That was the church.
This is church up here,
And
this is the
That was the
dungeon down here.
dungeon. So our own brother experienced the same shock. Obama, 13 years ago when he
Yeah,
was.
when he came.
Yes.
Some of the shapes were named for Santa Maria, that's Saint Mary,
Yeah.
Jesus, Elizabeth. Again, the Europeans said he was here as an explorer. Two, he was here as a missionary, teach you the Bible, a way to God Almighty.
That's what they said.
The next time he said, your gold was so paramount to the heart, so they needed your gold, and therefore name your land Gold Coast. Like what it was, Ivory Coast. The next moment he says, he needed you to go and do hard work for them in America and Caribbean communities. Then came the slave trade. So you see, exploration, evangelism, gold trading, and finally what?
Slavery.
Won the body.
So
I can't believe that was a church. And then a dungeon on the bottom.
simultaneously.
That's the wickedness of the heart of
So
man.
sometimes you wonder
Keep it up
what
in
kind
his soul.
of Bible they were using.
Exactly.
I'm just believing it's the same Bible we are all using.
The wickedness of
You know
man.
what? Anglican Methodist churches of Ghana started in the same dungeon, this castle.
It did?
They did. Roman Catholic Church and Mina Castle. Presby Church of Ghana, the castle in Accra. So Christianity in Ghana, where did they start?
From the castle, the dungeon.
You're saying the head of the Christian Church, Pope Nicholas at the time. That's who instituted the systemic.
That's right, the legalization, because you have to remember they had just come from under 700 years rulership of the Moors. And in 1492, we had thought that 1492 was relevant to Columbus discovering America, but 1492 is relevant to the last African ruler ruling any territory in Europe. Meaning we felt Granada fell, Madrid had fell, and so Seville had fell, and so the last African king handed over to a Christian ruler, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, and that was in 1492. And immediately they handed power over to the Pope, and that made Christians rule Europe again, and they expelled all the Moors. And with that, they started the expeditions down into West Africa, and that culminated in the Pope actually criminalizing being African.
We are unable to judge.
You know what he's saying?
The man out there should have mercy on us. And when the D-Day comes, all of us should be held accountable
Amen.
according to our deeds.
Amen.
My the bottom of the wall. See the white markings.
Oh, that's their footsteps.
That was the level of the pool.
Yeah, that's what
Throughout
The level of the pool.
went on
All the slaves of feces. Yeah.
Oh, the feces.
While they were here, you change, you pull, the next morning it will be cleaned. But after slave trade was over, they didn't have enough, was it even enough? They didn't have domestic slaves to come and clean the people. And that accumulated to this height. From the bottom to the side, all over was covered.
And they were standing like that?
No, you sleep by it. So you pull here, slide by the poo until the next day before they were clean. That was what they did. At the time, there was no electricity in the world, so a source of light ventilation from the side.
One little window. Oh, that's that one.
The three windows there. Sleeping on straw mat on the floor. If you wee-wee, you drain to the trench. All the way to the ocean.
So you have to do
It's a urine. So they would stand. They were in here with the feces in the
With the
urine.
feces in the evening. Before they went into the plane.
In chains.
Ladies and gentlemen, our brothers and sisters have to walk all the way from present-day Burkina Faso, also known as the land of Anestime or Upper Volta, then through Kintampo, Sudan, Kumasi, the Middle Belt, Asikman, Sufosu from the south. Most of the people brought here were captured as a result of tribal wars, ethnic conflict, slave raiders, kidnappers taking center stage, and therefore innocent people were brought to the fort and castles in exchange for farms. We all gun down power, drinkables like whiskey, schnapp, or rum. Sorry.
He said drinks like whiskey.
Or else
That's water. Yeah.
and it was not a joke walking from Burkina Faso to the side. At that time there were no cars. And if you should limit it to Kumasi to here, that's 215 kilometers. Wow. Chain against you. If I don't move, you don't move. If you don't move, I don't move. Restricted movement. Asinima also a community on the Cape Coast Kumasi Highway, about 65 kilometers away from where you have the last shower.
Where was that?
Shower again. By the time you get here, you already sweat, panting. We need to celebrate, salute each and every one of our ancestors who survived the journey, and as much as we remember those who died. Hey, 4 people in a room complain we are overcrowded.
Yes, it's true.
A day or two, no shower, the body is itchy, uncomfortable. And we'll be here for weeks.
How many people?
150 to 200 people. It's 32 by 60. That's the size.
32 by 60, 150 people staying together.
32 by 60. So that's the dimension.
Room
with 200 people.
Size, yes.
No, the size of this stadium. Yeah. It's 32 by 60. I'm telling you about 150 plus.
We are told made up of people living throughout years, sweat, blood of our ancestors. And this was discovered in 1974 after an archaeological work was done by some student body from University of Ghana. So we decided to code this area off from eroding.
Yes.
Because as I step on it, I erase part, you also do the same, especially when the volume is huge over here. If we continue to do that, the next 30 years, our grandchildren will not come. So it's a conservation. This one you see the rope so new. It's about the mountain that we put it. Any questions, lovely brothers and sisters? From this angle, all the way to this side. Mark the beginning of a very huge underground tunnel. Only 2 of you are on it. The house is living on no one. We will get it. All of us are walking on a very deep one. Yeah. You were also on it. When you came, I asked you to go and take some pictures.
Yeah.
This as your weight. When the men were here, no altar, this is an open space where you walk through like this. To join the women at the door of no return. But we had already returned. Around 1834, a year after slavery finally ended in British West Africa, that this tunnel was sealed, ordered by Captain John McLean, the president of London Merchants in the castle at the time. So worry not, at an appropriate time we shall see part of the tunnel. It will take us to the gate of no return. This reads presented by our own selves, corporate bodies, individuals, in memory of the departed souls, and appreciating those who survived the journey as well. So every year, every 2 years, we celebrate Panama Fest and Emancipation Day festivals. And last 3 years, we added a year of return to it, where the volume was so massive in attendance.
The first trip was in 2018.
18, yeah.
The first trip, it was packed. It was packed with us.
But see,
Caribbeans, Jamaicans, Haitians, Bahamians. It was packed with different people from all around the world visiting the slaves, especially the slave dungeons. The slave dungeons was the most powerful part of our trip.
Tell us about it, because you talked to me about it.
The tour was packed.
We continue to open our arms and invite all our brothers and sisters home. Ghana is your home. Africa is your home. We have our arms wide open, ready to welcome you home. Please take advantage. Come home. Build a life in Ghana. You do not have to stay where you are not wanted forever. You have a choice, and Africa is waiting for you. Finally, I say, may the spirit of George Floyd rise like the phoenix from the ashes of racism and lift up all persons of African descent from centuries of subjugation into a new world order. Your death, George Floyd, shall never be in vain. You are and will remain our brother. Thank you very much.
We are Ghanaians. We are proud to be Ghanaians. Yeah, I know that out there they are educating you badly, wrongly. That we Ghanaians are living in the trees, we live in woods, and those things. We are monkeys. We are never monkeys. We are human beings just like you people. Yeah, we love, we also care, we also think of our children. So I don't expect you people to accept the fact that we are monkeys living in trees. Yeah, we speak English. If it's not good, but we are able to express ourselves. So please come back home. Come and join us. Come and be with us. Our brothers out there. Come home. Come home. Hey, he's coming. I know. Come home and join your brothers here. Yeah. We would love to meet you here and to employ us, to join you, work to develop Mother Ghana. Thank you so much. And we love you. Bye-bye.
Was very hard for me to get there. I was held at the airport for 5 hours, just going through paperwork, all kinds of things, and the guys were telling me, you're not going to Africa today, your paperwork don't, whatever. 5 hours just going back and forth on little tedious, things like that, to where I had to actually go back home, where I had to actually go back home and come back like the next day to get everything. It was very hard to get over there. So 2019, the president of Ghana instituted the 2019 year of return. And the 2019 year of return was created to eliminate a lot of the tedious laws and requirements in order to get over there, to make it a very simple, streamlined trip to get over there. And 2019 year of return, we're selling land. So the families and chiefs that own the land is agreeing to work with the government in selling the land to any Americans or anybody of the diaspora, because like I said, blacks from all over the diaspora is coming back to visit now. Families and chiefs are agreeing to work with the governments to sell because Africa is so massive. So one family could literally have a whole piece of land in the mountains. And they're like, well, we don't need all this land, but we're used to having all of this land because Africa is a massive space. So we'll sell this land to any of the Americans that want to come. It's a massive piece of land that can seat like 100 people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So 2019, we're streamlining the process to get over here, and we're selling land. So 2019 year return, they're doing celebrations, celebrities are going.
Yes,
Yeah, welcome to Ghana. Africa. Yeah, it's good to have you here. And we all love your show. Watch it all the time.
He just made this for me today. He paid no measurements or nothing. He said he took to watch my show for years. That's when he made me my captain. So I put it on, just kept it on. I said, I was rock that. Nice and sexy.
The volume was so massive in attendance. But then only as far as 3 months later, a certain 19-year-old boy came in. He says he's 22 years now and disrupted the whole activities. And he's still tormenting the world as I speak to you now. Who could that 19-year-old boy be? Coronavirus. 19-year-old boy that the whole world is afraid of.
COVID-19.
22 years now.
32?
Is it COVID-19?
Who is the
Corona. That's what stopped people from visiting.
He is 23 years now.
That struggle even went through before coming.
Yeah. We hope by grace of the year should be a on the past, so you can move freely. And you bring out carbon dioxide and they say take it back. It's not easy.
Everybody's going over to visit. What happens at the beginning of the year 2020?
2020, we know.
COVID-19.
Yeah.
COVID-19 temporarily shuts down the airports.
Right.
Shuts down all passport services. And now it quarantines everything was quarantined for months. And now the world is repainted as full of disease, full of sickness. It's a pandemic and millions of people are dying worldwide. So in 2022, when we took the trips in 2022, there was maybe 4 or 5 people there. And the tour guide was like, that completely wiped out the hundreds and hundreds of people that we had coming here to do the tours. Yeah, as a matter of
fact, you went because in 18 you found out. Then in 19 we got an opportunity to get the land, but then pandemic hit, and now
everybody's living in fear.
Back.
Nobody wants to travel. Now the tours, which were packed in 2018, is empty. And he was like, it's a shame to see the tours like this because right before that hit, we were packed out. And while I was in Ghana, I got an alert to my phone, a news report to my phone. And when I went to the news report, it said West Africa was listed as the most infectious and COVID-ridden place of the 2020. And I was over there. Those people are just fine. fine. There's nobody dying over there. There's nobody sick. There's, oh, my grandfather just died. Well, my uncle just died. Well, my auntie just died. And they all died from COVID. Those people are just fine. They eat fruits and vegetables and peppers and fresh, all of the foods is homegrown and handmade over there. You know what I'm saying?
And they'll tell you anything in the tabloids.
This is national news.
Yeah. But hey, this is why we the light workers. Ghana said 2019 year of return. USA said 2019 Jubilee year. Juneteenth. 2019 was the Jubilee year. This is our 400 years is up.
Over there, Juneteenth is not something you put on ice cream or something that you use as other product. Over there, Juneteenth is recognized as prophecy. In Africa, Juneteenth is prophecy because God told Abraham in Genesis 15 that you will know your descendants who I'm making this promise with you with. Remember, Abraham was promised to be the father of the nations. Yeah. So Abraham said, how will I know who my nations are among all the people of the world? You will know who your nations are because your nations will be the nation that goes through slavery for 400 years. That's how you will know your people who are the inheritors of this promise. The Juneteenth 2019 is 400 years from 1619. So over here, we like, yay, Juneteenth, a day off from work. In Africa, Juneteenth is held as biblical prophecy. The people hold it as prophecy. That's why the families got together and agreed to begin opening up land for the people of the diaspora to come back because they held Juneteenth as prophecy, not as something to make money for the corporations.
Juneteenth celebration. Y'all don't know what Juneteenth is.
Wow.
It is the 400-year mark. Okay? If you don't know who you are, if we don't know who we are children of God. Okay? And as us being children of God, we are children of Abraham. Whether you accept it or not. And what God told Abraham, he said, your descendants, you will know who your descendants are because they will go through 400 years of slavery. This is in Genesis 15. So he said, after these 400 years, I will come down and deliver your people and I will punish the oppressor. Well, guess what? June 19th, 2019 is the 400-year mark for the descendants of Abraham. And at the 400-year mark, if somebody will go up and intercede like Daniel, God will come down and he will help, not do for us, but help liberate us from the oppressor.
Years for you, 1619, 2019, we celebrated that thing, Juneteenth and all that in 2019. We had to do that for y'all.
2019 makes 400 years. So welcome to the first Juneteenth 2020. We are free and we are celebrating. While they're trying to lock us down, while they're trying to put us indoors, while they're killing our people, and while they're telling us you need to be afraid, you need to stay home, you need to put on your dog muzzles, guess what? Juneteenth celebrates that we are free. And freedom means you have the power to control your own destiny. Happy Juneteenth.
Yeah. At this wall. What about it?
Yeah, so this wall right here is called Segregation Wall. It was actually used to be up 8 feet high, and it was put here for the purpose of keeping the whites on one side and the blacks on the other side. And when I say black, I don't mean like Hispanic blacks. No, this was actually labeled as the non-Hispanic black side. So it was like straight up pure African American people were dumped on this side, and they weren't allowed to leave to the other side. You know what I mean? And you see that in a lot of areas. Like when you look at Overtown, Overtown used to be called Colored Town. And blacks were not allowed to be out of Overtown after dark. So a lot of them, you know, like Muhammad Ali would train on South Beach on the 5th Street Gym, and before dark, he had to be back Overtown. You know what I mean, on the other side of the bridge. Yeah. So, you know, it's important for us to come together and change that. You know, it's good that the wall's down now, but you notice that when they took it down, they started to gentrify the area. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Celebration.
Look.
And she's culinary, you know what I mean? They don't have the space for a music studio, for a barbershop. We can do all that in here and bring it to them.
Oh yeah. You know? Yeah.
So that's the idea, man. Get everybody involved.
genius, man. Do you have the moving billboard capability to put the lights up in there for the LED screen?
I mean, we could put LED screen there if we want, but I don't have that capability right now. I have banners on there that you can put, advertising art on, and then they roll. But of course, that's a lot more work than that LED screen that you can just change the advertising on.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go that route.
Yeah, the Arts for Learning program was a program started by Miss Melba Rose, by Miss Ivy, and it was also started by the gentleman that wrote the movie Moonlight. He's the one who sponsored it.
Interviewing these young men for the program, it broke my heart. One of the normal questions I ask is, what are you most proud of? And literally almost every young man that I interviewed said, being alive. The weight of that. You're a baby, you're a youth. Their greatest accomplishment is being alive.
And the goal of this program was to take inner city youth off the streets, whether they were selling or whatever they was doing to survive and make money to feed their family, was to take them off of the streets and to pay them to be interns to create artwork. This year, when I talked to the people and said, well, how are we going to do the program? Are we going to do the program this year? They said we can't because of the COVID. Everything is virtual now, so the program is done. So now what are these children going to do? Go back to what they were doing before we were hiring them and paying them to make an honest living? The system is always working against us. And whether you think it's coincidence or whether you think it's a diabolical plan, it doesn't change the fact that every time we try to make positive strides, there is something from our own government and our own system to work against us. That's the problem. And if you asking why we out here protesting, that's why we out here protesting.
Yes.
His Excellency Juna Sada was here last Friday, the president of the Hungary.
Last Friday?
Just last Friday.
Oh, nice.
So
you brought a really
presented it. From the first room to this side, between 700 and 1,000 human beings were confined here as enslaved Africans. 700. 150 to 200 by 5. Just by. That's it. And here, you see the bricks easily? This is a QR. You don't see the bricks. And here we have 2 layers. The top layer and the main layer being bricks. The top layer is the composition of
yes, filth.
And where you stand, look at the bottom, you see that side is also scooped. All over. This was done in 1970. So later the others are trying to move the spread them in the first 4 rooms, leaving the main room bare to do the markings. This right, that side is, you see the bricks, but the rest of the 4 you don't see, but they were all bricks. Labor by our ancestors, carry bills, bring down, supervision by them. All over the castles, our ancestors. You see, let me add this. Portuguese, when they arrived, they said they needed a place. You know, at that time there was no easy communication. So body language, they met Kwame and San, the chief of Emina at the time. They wanted a place to bring their. Initially, Kwame and San was hesitant because of the color. But later, why not? Let's give it. And therefore, the Ghanaian hospitality you are experienced, it means that it's in our game. That's how we're brought up. Not that they are too nice to you, no. Every Ghanaian. That's how, be nice to people you know and those you don't know. Because tomorrow you can't tell what will happen. So freely we gave them the land, help them construct the dining. We didn't know that in the year we end up in the dining. Wow.
Yeah, trickery.
That was it. That was it. May God forgive us.
May God forgive them. May He not forgive them. Sorry.
Let's continue outside. We'll talk briefly about the grapes, and then we'll see the huge channel from the appropriate angle.
God forgive our lack of knowledge from the beginning. Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Brother Royce. One time for your mind, though. They call me Hakeem Roys. Hakeem Asar El Roys. But you can just call me Brother Royce. Day 2 of the mission today. Day 2 of the tours and everything. I am the first official go-through of the tour. And today we went to the slave dungeons. I was talking to one of the guys who was doing the tours, and we was talking about the whole thing about Africans sold us into slavery. You know, and you'll see that during the documentary. And it's to a point now where that's all most people know about Africa. They don't know the culture. They don't know the history. They don't know that the Bible was written by Africans. And the Bible is about Africans. You know what I'm saying? All they know is, hey, what do you know about Africa? I know that they sold us into slavery. I was riding through a taxi cab in Chicago. And he's like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'm about to take a trip to Africa. And he's like, oh, Africa. You know, I heard the Africans sold you guys into slavery. That's all anybody knows about the continent. And you'll see during the documentary, we had a very funny conversation about that. It's like, my brother, they are lying to you, which is the same thing that happened in 2018. The name given to the church was propagation of what? The name again?
I will show you the literature. They call it Society for the Propagation of the Gospel.
The name of the church? SPG.
Yeah, SPG. Later, this is what our chiefs also have to say. They acknowledge their misdeeds, having involved themselves actively in the slave trade business. They were selfish, ignorant, also a deceit on the part of the Europeans. They never made their intentions known to our ancestors at the time. They were selfish, but the Europeans were also.
Could you say that part of it? Because I'm from America, and the only thing they teach us about Africa over there is that, the Africans sold us into slavery. We don't know your culture. We don't know anything. All they know is, Africa, they sold us.
I will get a platform over there one day, and you love media. And tell that
media is terrible. Put it on social media.
It's not true, lie. What's we were like this, so.
Exactly.
If you visited me home one particular evening unannounced, and I had only one bowl of pancake to eat, either we eat it together or I divide it to take half of it. Yeah. That is us. All I advanced was, you didn't tell me you were coming. Okay, get your paper, newspaper, read. When I finish my breakfast, then we'll continue the conversation. Ghana here, it will not happen. No. We are yes, we don't do it. Why they name Togo, Benin, Nigeria as slave coast was that Elmina Castle was in existence by 1482. They had their first commercial demon cargo from that region. And by the time they took them to Elmina, some of them were already dead. So plan B came. Why don't we get some from where the Elmina Castle is located? Then they began raiding. By virtue of your stature, they had guys you don't have, you can't fight them. Yeah. So they raided the community. And still they needed strong men from the same region to the Americas. And here was the case, they didn't know Kumasi, Techima, Yendi, and the rest. So who do we have to partner?
The chief.
The landowners.
Yeah.
So that was their involvement.
That was their involvement. And later, as they say, some became greedy.
Yeah.
Greediness is part of every human being. At some point in time.
At a point, some of the communities around, even to this area, was a reformation center. But when they were bringing them from the interior in chains, these people were bad people that they have shackled them. So if you also misbehave in a family, the head of the family or the clan can say, you are so dear, I will take you to the castle.
Oh dear.
Kojo went, never came back. Azam went, never came back. Exactly. What was happening? By the time they were allowed, they were gone. Too little, too late.
Wow.
So it was no more a reform center as they received. So we were not selling. We were selling human beings for how to gain God and another.
We had an indentured slavery servitude where, for instance, if you owe Madame here, let's say 300 Ghana cedis of Ghana today, she's demanding the money, you don't have it as I speak. You have 4 children. Just nominate one, go and work for Madame within the space of, let's say, 6 months. Within that 6 months, that child of yours is no more yours. It belongs to her. Until the agreement was over. So you have to work for Madame and pay your demeanor. If you put a very good behavior in the family, Madame can ask you to marry her daughter. In that case, you are no more a servant. A servant turns in-law.
Right. So it's not the same.
That is it. All these things, we were doing it. And these people came in and then fuel it and then get more of us. In that case, you had a gun, he doesn't. And by force, you have to go for him. That was how it was. But not that we were selling him before. We were not selling him. So, take me when you go there, you like us. Over there, I hear it's a 1 page or 2 pages over slave trading. And then they highlight more on the role that the African played.
Instead of what they did. Instead of what they did.
So go and diffuse that.
They don't teach us what they did.
That is what they did. Let's talk briefly about the Green Sea.
That was a part of the reason they say, well, Africans sold us. Africans had never experienced such cruelty, so they were naive to the fact that people could be so cruel.
I can't say that too.
Arab slavery was on the East Coast.
This is West Coast, take it somewhere else.
This isn't West Coast America versus East Coast America. This is East Africa and West Africa. You're talking about countries and countries apart.
Right.
This is Ghana and Egypt.
Right.
So the West Africans, yes, Arab slavery is one of the most vicious and cruel forms of slavery that has ever existed among the forms of slavery that exist in the world today. But the Africans on the West Coast had never experienced such cruelty. So when they were giving the Africans over to the whites, they thought they were giving them into indentured servitude because Africans already had indentured servitude.
This side are the millions of people that were taken as enslaved Africans. Millions died and millions survived. And therefore we are the proud descendants of those who refused to die. Because it was not easy. Either you died in the bush, terrible conditions in the dungeon, or on the high seas. But in our case, none of them died in this terrible situation. And here we are. So we are here to say thank you, our ancestors, on the pilgrimage. To say we thank you for sacrificing enough for us. Because if you had died, I wouldn't have been here today. So we are not tourists, we are here to say thank you, our ancestors. We are so proud of you. I saw your hand up.
How many slaves do you think they took? How many? What's the number? Give me a number. Like how many slaves?
This number comes a little over 4 million came through here. ELK reported 11.6. In fact, some even quoted 13.6, depending on the right. And Accra had a little over 3 million. And thousands through some forts. So the Gold Coast alone close to 20. That's a huge resource. You know, the trade lasted for about 300 years. We are talking about almost 6
we are 30 million. So we're talking about what 20 million how many years ago?
We did that about 300 years ago.
Wow!
All resources. And of this figure, according to Wateroni, 40% survived, 16 died. Wateroni is the author of How Europe and the Developed Africa. And this is the indices he used. He said during the Arabian travel wars, captured, I won't come, some died. Those that were captured, bringing them to the coast, some also died. And then look at the conditions they died. Almost everything, some died. And then on the Middle Passage, where some were thrown overboard, lives were dead because of lack of food and water. An example was the Zone slave ship massacre around 1781. 132 people were thrown overboard, only 1%.
Slavery took 80% of the population of Ghana alone. And of that 80% that was taken, the conditions of slavery was so horrible, 60% died before even making it here. 60% died on the way, in the dungeons, and on the ships making it here. Only 40% of the 10 million slaves brought out of Africa actually made it here alive.
I came over here and I got the truth about a lot of things. And remember, Willie Lynch said, we're going to alter their mind. We're going to turn these African teachers and scientists and mathematicians and astrologers and holistic doctors, we're going to turn them into Negroes. So we are going to alter their mentality. And you know, Project Paperclip and all of these other studies of the human bodies that these people do, they know how to traumatize the mind until it cracks open and they can go in and scramble things up. So they had no problem letting the slaves off the plantation because they had already been thoroughly traumatized and broken. We don't need to keep them on the fields anymore. We have their mind now. So Willie Lynch says, once you get them to this condition where they are perpetual slaves, it said, make sure that you keep them from connecting to their original source. Keep them from connecting to their homeland. It says, if you allow the black slaves to connect to their homeland or any source of their homeland, it said their mind will begin to auto-correct itself and undo everything that we have indoctrinated them with. So they take advantage of the rift that they have created between you and your homeland. And we learned about the origin of this rift, how they came, you know, to the people. When they say your people sold you into slavery, there's a difference between slavery and indentured servants. In Africa, they had indentured servitude. So they would tell the people, hey, you know, they were already the missionaries there, and they used to teach them the Bible and teach them, you know, who God is and etc., etc. And then they were already doing the gold trade because there was so much gold in Africa. So now they say, hey, you know, we're going to go over and we're going to build up our land. Can we buy your indentured servants? And the Africans, never knowing about the kind of slavery. Remember, European slavery is unique, just like Arabic slavery is unique. I'm not saying Europeans are the first slave masters. We know that the Arabs was over the thousands of years before. But Egyptian slavery, Arabic slavery, and European slavery, they are very unique forms of slavery. Roman slavery, very unique forms of slavery, which is the same thing as Western slavery. So when they say, hey, can we buy some of your indentured servants, go rake the land, they're thinking we're selling indentured servants to be indentured servants. So as I told you, where the slave dungeons are is about 3 to 4 hours away from where the town is. And that's the close town. That's Ghana. They used to bring in the slaves from Burkina Faso and Nigeria. That's crazy amounts. Crazy. Far, 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 far. When they got to the dungeons, they would separate the families, break up the families, take the wife, send the wife to Jamaica, take the male, send the male to America, take the boy, send the boy to Dutch or Portugal. Separating the families, breaking up the families. That's why you see the African American family structure the way it is. We held our families together all the way up until the Martin Luther King Civil Rights era. We survived a lot with our family. But once they started to introduce these other cultures and these other ideologies for family structures, it reactivated that genetic trauma that is in us. Project Paperclip dealt with genetic trauma, and it says that if you traumatize the parents, then the trauma will pass down to the child, and you will be able to activate these traumas to form splits in the personality. So they traumatized our ancestors. So now they know what to do and they know what narratives to push to activate these splits in our personality.
Refuse to assimilate. Refuse to assimilate. I refuse to assimilate. One more. I refuse to assimilate. Come on, Nani style.
They await the arrival of the remains of the two ancestors. The Asafo warriors carry aloft the remains of two of their own. What else are they but warriors?
Europe, Africa, America, Caribbean, back to Europe. Like a triangle. Therefore they call it triangular slave.
Even in a strange land, the irrepressible, defiant, and resistant spirit of the Asafo warriors was manifest in the uprising and struggles of the enslaved for freedom. The symbolic return to the castle is about to begin aboard dug-out canoes. Today, the ancestors will return to the Cape Coast Castle, that dreadful dungeon of anguish and pain, of darkness and lost hope. Today, those dreadful doors of no return will be opened wide to a royal welcome for Crystal and John Carson. Today, the remains of Crystal and John Carson will be returned to the castle through this very door. What is the significance of this?
One of the reasons we want to bring the body back to the door of no return, so that we can destroy forever the myth of a door of no return. Now we know the door of return, that there is no longer a door of no return. It has been destroyed. Now there's a door of return for all Africans to return home. Those bones from Jamaica and from the United States represent all of the millions, the hundreds of millions of Africans killed in the slave trade. Now that they have come back home, the spirits and the soul of the hundreds of millions have come. Now their children will be able to return. The myth of the door of no return has been destroyed. There's only now a door of return, and Ghana is the gateway to Africa, representing that door.
This will definitely be a part of the tours.
Later usher them in back to their root, therefore change the narrative of no return to return.
Sure. Oh,
and that is us. That is us.
Okay.
Next time on Alkebulan 2022, we visit our next stop on the tours, Independence Square. And there, we learn about the Black Star and how it connects Africans with African Americans and everyone else of the African diaspora. Stay tuned.
The middle bend again, and the last one.
Okay.
Hey, somebody turned off their lights.
Condemned cell, they call it. You don't see your sister there.
Oh, wow.
And this door, as you can see,
middle room and the main door.
Condemned cell.
No full water, light, air to goods or individual health. This is why they call it condemned cell. Wow. You see? Now come inside. I want you to see the scratches on the wall where they use the shackles to hit the wall. You know, they died in pain. So, wow. Boom. It's supposed to be smooth as this all over. But here we have a pocket of scratches.
How many people will be in here?
It varies 1, 2, 4, 3. So depending upon the number of people prepare at a given time.
For how long will you be here?
Until you drop dead, my dear sister.
What? Oh, no food, no nothing.
Section. Same number over there. Sometimes children were held outside. Yes, there were children involved. If I captured your once if you were cultivating assisted by the child, you don't want to lose your husband. I find get the husband back. I'll capture you, shackle you. How about the child is 7, 10 years? Mark that, boom. If he dies, he will still be, but if he survives the journey, he will also be auctioned. So what happened was when you go to North Carolina, me, the child, I go to Jamaica. Separation. So longer they see us communicate, more than a minute or two, it means we're having effective communication. So there were children involved, so that they were not.
That's why America's like that. In America, the people don't speak to each other. Like, if you make eye contact with somebody, they'll look away within a few seconds. But, you know, trauma is carried generationally, so we still have the same habits. That's what I was telling them. I say, nobody speaks to each other really in America. Like, you can be in like an airport or something, and if 2 black people see each other, they'll look away. And I say, it's got to be something from slavery. Like, we're not allowed to speak to each other in white spaces.
When that happens, you'll be separated. You'll be separated easily. Either we are planning a coup or mutiny, so they will try to separate you and I. You see, the first time that we visited, there was a door over there. Those held there, they were the most aggressive ones. Anytime they had a chance, boom! They used the shackles to hit the face of them. So even allege that sometimes food given to them had to be thrown from the gates. It was only when they wanted to clean the dungeons that you arm themselves very well and move them out so they can have the dungeon clean and later go back. And when they brought them out to eat, instructing them to do one thing or another, already the Queen's language, they don't understand it. And we were saying, so there were some who used the shackles to whack the face of the officer, strangle the neck in an attempt to kill them. You know, you've been branded. 3 days ago, you fought Officer A. The day before, Officer D. And just now, you didn't lynch Madam. You became a thorn in their flesh. Then they will take you to condemn cell. So we'll go to the condemn cell. We will see that. And those of our brothers, the freedom fighters, always fighting for their freedom over here in other dungeons, mostly were taken to Jamaica. And then Marcus Garvey, Luther King, I can link them to Kwame Nkrumah, Nelson Mandela, those. These people always fight, not for themselves, but for the masses. Exactly. That's what they do. So, it's that's how we're brought up. We are known as these people. We'll fight you if you try to take our right hand.